Welcome to Female Fluence. We are a place of women empowering women. This is a safe environment where females are not judged nor afraid to flourish. My goal is to help you live an energized life of balance, whether as a mom, a wife, or in your profession. It is time to have self-worth and self-compassion. Live in the present moment and surround yourself with only healthy connections. So join me, Pearl Shur, a woman empowerment life coach, an educator, and a mother of three, to help take you on a journey of true identity and inspiration. If you grow up surrounded by stories that frame aging as a burden, that's precisely how you will experience it. The way we perceive aging is shaped by the narratives we tell ourselves about who we are becoming over time. As a society, we fear growing older, looking old, feeling old, being seen as old. Research has identified common fears of women aging: dementia, caring for aging parents, financial insecurity in retirement, menopause, of course, loneliness, the decline in sexual interest, attractiveness, wrinkles and wrinkles and more wrinkles. One well-known social phenomenon is called invisible woman syndrome, which highlights this struggle. A survey of 2,000 women found that by age 51, many felt invisible to men. Only 15% reported having high confidence in their lives, and nearly half thought that no one truly acknowledged the realities of aging for women. Take something simple as hair color. Women are expected to color their hair. Meanwhile, no one questions a bald man or a man with gray hair. The pressure to appear young for as long as possible for us is relentless. The booming beauty industry thrives on this fear. Botox, anti-aging creams, endless skincare routines, marketing to women of all ages. It's now a common thing to even see young girls and teenagers on TikTok sharing their 10-step skincare routines using anti-aging products before they have even finished growing up, which doesn't even make sense. The underlying message is clear. Youth equals beauty, and beauty equals worth. Social media, magazines, Photoshop, beauty contests reinforce unrealistic standards, fueling an industry that profits from our insecurities. That's why anti-aging cosmetics sell so well and plastic surgery is at all-time high. It's all driven by our fear. What if we approach aging differently? We plan everything in our life, our careers, our families, our finances. Yet many of us wake up all of a sudden realizing that we have spent years taking care of everyone else only to find ourselves lost at midlife. Instead of fearing what's ahead, we can redefine it. Midlife is not the end. It's an opportunity to step into the second prime of our lives, embracing who we are becoming. My guest today on Female Fluence is going to do just that. Gretchen Leonard, a dietitian, a gut health expert, wellness advocate whose mission is to transform how we view aging worldwide. Gretchen has created a powerful movement to show women that midlife doesn't have to be a crisis. She's sparking a revolution that embraces aging with enlightenment and empowerment. Together, on today's show, we will explore how to harness the power of our untapped dreams to thrive and age successfully. Welcome to Female Fluence, Gretchen. So glad to have you on my show.
Oh, Pearl, it's such an honor. Thank you so much. And I loved your opening. It was a beautiful way to set the stage for this conversation that not only you and I love to talk about this, but it's for everyone. And that's the exciting thing. It's for our contemporaries and it's for those young women that are thinking they need to get started on anti-aging before they've come of age. It's important work that you're doing. So thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you, Gretchen. Thank you. Well, how about you start with kind of sharing a glimpse of your journey and how you are where you are today?
Certainly. And thank you so much for giving a bit of my background. I've been in the healthcare industry for over 30 years. I am a dietitian, and my area of expertise currently is health ethics, in fact, digital ethics and things of that nature. But as a young person starting out in the medical field, I was, seeing people for helping them with their diet and things of that nature. And it seemed to me that everything was ahead of me, and I was really excited about the work I was doing. And I unfortunately had a medical scare that sort of threw me for a loop. And I was driving down the road and I lost the vision in one eye. And that was really, really concerning. And so I drove myself to the ER. I wasn't having a stroke. I ended up in a neurologist's office. And he made a comment to me that would forever sort of change the way I see the world. And he said, well, when I see symptoms like yours in a woman in the prime of her life, it's either MS or lupus. And I just sat there dumbfounded. I was alone. It was so scary. And I thought, oh my gosh, everything I have planned for is over. What I thought I would be doing, starting my career, I was married, starting a family, was at risk at the very least and potentially over. So that term, a woman in the prime of her life, was etched, tattooed, seared like a branding tattoo on my forehead. I thought, oh. So I went on trying to find out what was wrong with me. I'm happy to say I neither had MS or lupus, so he was wrong on a lot of levels. And so, and often, we've talked about this tragedy, fear, um, challenges. They're our best teachers, right?
Right.
So I took that kernel and I started digesting it, and I thought, prime of life, and it just kept mulling over in my head, and I was able to connect it with a deep feeling that I had been taught as a young person, that growing old is in fact something to be ashamed of. And you only have one prime of life. And for women, it's a very small window. And the more work I did within the healthcare industry, as you mentioned, and I mentioned I'm a dietitian, and I ended up spending my entire career in neuroimmunology. And when I knew that potentially I had MS, I had an opportunity to work in the MS field, multiple sclerosis, which disproportionately affects women. And that has been an absolute gift to me to really, number one, understand how neurology health and gut health all work together, and autoimmune diseases work together. And so I've been able to pour myself into that for the last 30 years. And then again, this little thing about prime of life that just kept being like a woodpecker that I couldn't ignore. I started getting excited about, well, gosh, do we have to think that way? Do we have to think that only women in their 20s and 30s are in their prime of life?
First of all, I'm so glad that you are okay. And I think it's amazing how our journeys can lead us into one thing, one path, and it's like that one word stuck with you and it just changed your entire journey. It's really challenging because even when I was researching for this episode, I kind of got emotional because as I read more and I read more research and how it is so true. We have been told, we have been trained, we've been told stories shaming us about aging forever. And it's really funny because even when I talk to like older people, and that's like from that generation that is like, they'll come up to me. It's like before it was like, oh, just wait until you get 40. It's horrible. And then now that I'm in my 40s, constantly like the older generation, it's like they just walk around, oh, Pearl, 50s are horrible. Just wait. Overnight, everything will turn upside down. And I'm like, if you think like that, of course it's going to happen, you know? And I honestly, when they tell me these stories, because I know I don't want to be like disrespectful or rude, because it's like, the older generation, I just let them talk. But in my head, I'm like, okay, just pay attention to something else. Don't soak it in. Don't listen to what they're saying, because immediately you're going to listen to those stories and that will become your story. So it's so true. And it's our job, Gretchen. We need to change these stories for us, for
Absolutely.
all the future women, because this is not good for any of us. So now I've heard you talk a lot about the inconvenient dream. What bold dream will you embrace if it feels inconvenient for you and challenging?
Yeah, so the inconvenient dream I have, and I have a book coming out, which is really exciting, and I cannot wait. And I think it'll be here in late spring, early summer. You know, all of that stuff is yet to be decided, but I'm finished writing it, and I'm going through the second edit of it. So I'm really, really excited about
So
that.
exciting. I would like
Um,
a signed copy, please. Please let me know.
of course, of course. And it is called Your Second Prime. Does aging suck or do we suck at aging? And it's really kicked off with a story of when my friends and I were all together at a brunch and we started talking about things that we really wanted to do in our lives, Pearl. You know, the shackles were off. We'd had a few drinks. We were sitting around. No one was in a hurry. At this time, it was early 30s, and so you know you felt like you had a long road ahead of you, a long stretch, and you weren't constrained. And one friend was like, I want to open up a restaurant and a bar, and we're like, oh, that is the worst idea. In fact, I think those fail like the most, you know. And we just, you know, the dreams kept getting bigger, and people would pop the balloon of, your idea balloon, and the other people were like, oh, I love that. And what it did was it allowed us to dream. We started putting the word inconvenient in front of it. Like it's so inconvenient. Like I don't, my friend who wanted to start the restaurant, he was like, I don't really want to start a restaurant, but what I want to do is connect with people. I want to be a maitre d'. Well, what does a maitre d' bring to you? It brings being socially connected in your world and seeing the people in your life every day, that maitre d' vibe, because he was like, I really don't want to start a restaurant.
Right.
And I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to take away fearing aging. And everyone's like, good luck.
What?
Everyone fears age, and aging is a bummer. And I don't know if you remember this, but there was a time you would walk into any party store and there would be black balloons and black things called over the hill. They had over the hill
Yes,
parties. Do you
yes, I do
remember? And that
remember.
was, do you remember the age? It was 40.
Oh, I'm like, was it 40 or 50? What it was
No,
40.
it was 40. And
Yes,
now I had that discussion. I was like, wow, we've really come a long way. So we've accepted that 40 is still, in that, not considered second prime. I'm in my mid 50s, and I'll tell you, whoever tells you that your 50s are awful couldn't be further from the truth. They're amazing. When you start to love yourself in an unconditional way and you're proud of who you are and you know what you've done in your life to work on yourself and have a growth mindset, it's really exciting regardless of what age you are, truly. But the idea of having an inconvenient dream, along with the concept of having only one prime, started to come together. And I thought, my inconvenient dream is that women wouldn't be shocked that there's only one prime and that there's only this little sliver of window when potentially you're, let's say, fertile, or, because for me, having a disease at the age of when I was trying to have a family made me feel like everything would be truncated and perhaps it wouldn't happen for me. That could have ended that dream. So this inconvenient dream concept really took hold, and I thought, it's really inconvenient, but I want to destroy how we feel about aging. I want us to be excited about it. In fact, I don't just want to feel good about aging myself. I want everyone to feel good about it. I want the world to stop fearing aging, and I want women to show up in a different way. Now, that takes a lot of agreement. That takes the world to agree with you and say, we want that too. And and that takes all the women who sort of bought into, well, it's a young person's game, or it's for the, I'm old, and sort of like voluntarily pulling ourselves out of the world. It requires a completely different mind shift.
right.
And so, Pearl, what the inconvenient dream truly is, and everyone has one, two, three, maybe many, but they're the dreams that you are connected to so deeply because it's an expression of your purpose. And my purpose and what I care about, my why, is that one key component is that everyone is treated with equality and dignity. And that means regardless of your age. So I really connected with the idea of creating a second prime, a third prime, as many primes as you want, but really destroying the idea that you have an expiry date is my inconvenient dream. And it's because it's so tied to my purpose that the world be based on equality, love, and acceptance, and that we're missing out when people remove themselves from society or are pushed out, whether it's they remove or they are pushed out, sort of irrelevant. So that's the inconvenient dream. And everyone has one. And I'm not sure what yours is. I know we talked about it on my podcast, but if we could ask people that are listening, what you stand for and what dream is inconvenient that you really need to fulfill to bring your light into the world, that's what your second prime is about.
I think that is so powerful. I mean, by doing this, you're navigating the concept of aging in such a different way, and you're creating a positive impact for women all over the world, which is exactly what we need. It makes you really think too, like as far as your dreams, your why, it is inconvenient. It's hard. Those are the hard things. They're not easy because you have to really dig in and you have to feel kind of put away the fear and step out of your comfort zone, right? That's the time that we really grow and get out there and say, no, this is something that I want to do, whether it's a movement or a book or something that you believe in that you want to kind of spread out there to share with the world. And you're doing it. You are providing encouragement for all of us women as we grow old and get wrinkles together, but we are going to be powerful and we're going to collaborate and we're going to cultivate with confidence. And I'm right there with you. So I'm right behind you. Okay, next question. What does a proper life balance look for you, and how does it feel when you achieve it? Because I know, like me, you're a mom and you're working and you're trying to balance it all, and you have all these different things that you're doing at the same time, which I try to do. And sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, like I need to say no, or I need to work on one project at a time. So, how do you do that?
Well, I don't, Pearl, and I think that right there, this concept of having balance, it's a great guidepost, but it's impossible to have balance perfectly in every area of your life because you would be so stressed about having balance that you would be out of balance, at least that's how I mean, perhaps it's my ADD brain. I'm not able to be fully balanced. What I can say is that instead of trying to find balance, what I look for is meaning and connectedness. And if I feel that I don't have the connectedness I need with either my family or my friends or even myself, my colleagues, then I hone back into that and give that a little bit more love. And so I think it's more of a dance than it is an actual balance of having it neatly weighted. And one time something will take over, and this. You'll over rotate and you're like, whoa, I need to get back to either exercise or eating right or spending time with loved ones and all of those things. So I think, where the I would like people to come from is a place of self-compassion. We are so incredibly demanding of ourselves. And so I would say, give yourself a big hug and say, I'm doing my best. I'm putting my best out there, and that's what keeps us going. So.
That really resonates with me as well. And I feel like also as far as self-compassion, but also self-awareness. Like I catch myself when I'm like, okay, like the connection. I haven't had a moment to talk to my husband, but I've been so busy with work. Oh, I need to kind of reevaluate the situation, or with the kids, or like you said, exercise or eating healthy. As long as you're like kind of aware, like, okay, I went, I was out every night this past weekend. I was eating really bad. So now this week we're going to work on healthy food, taking care of my nutrition. So kind of doing a check-in constantly, I think is really important. What does the second prime of life look like for a woman, and how can it be her most fulfilling chapter? Because that's our goal.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. And I think one thing that we can learn from our first prime, if we want to call it that, the first part of our year, our life is very laid out for us, right? Everything is sort of in line. We go to school, we find a partner, we decide if we're going to have a family, we search for a career, but it's very consistently set up for us. And then we get into the thick of it. And we're raising families and trying to sustain marriages in a loving and healthy way and have a rewarding career and be a great parent or whatever it is that your construct is. But it's almost like the messy middle, things get
Right.
busy and work is really a highlight of people's life. I mean, we really spend the majority of our time in our career, whether we're male or female. And what happens is we lose sight of our next goal. Our firsts have sort of died away. We don't have a lot of firsts. We have so many firsts when we're senior, where you're like, first time you graduated, first time you learned how to drive, all these firsts. And then everything is wow, we're just doing it and the planning stops. Unless it's financial planning, which is a pretty established rite of passage for older adults, there isn't the sort of life plan, the architecture of what good looks like for you moving forward. And so part of it is, what do you want your second prime to be filled with? How do you want to feel in your body? Do you want to feel nurtured and part of that you have a purpose? Do you want to, be connected deeply with those you love? I would imagine everyone would say, yes, yes, yes. I want to be healthy. I want all of those things. What are you doing right now in your 30s for your 40s? What are you doing in your 40s for your 50s so that your future self is prepared to have that experience? And it does come back to the question you had, how do you balance? Well, you can't let your health go because that'll come back and bite
Mhm.
you in the hiney. And then you'll be like, I'm trying to get my health back on track, or I've let my relationships go and now I'm trying to make up for it. So the intentionality of our first young years is a great roadmap, but you have to have a plan. You have to say to yourself, I want this in my future. And then, so that is really, really critical, is to have a vision and not just where you want to be, but how you want to feel. Because in manifesting, ideas are not really going to come to life if there is an emotional draw that's
Mhm.
missing.
Right.
It has to be connected to your why, what you stand for, what you're here. Everyone has a gift to give to the world. That's our job. Finding it and to give it away, I think, is important. And another thing, when we're thinking of our young years, it's a lot of ego and acquisition. I'm going to do this. It's about me. I'm going to slay some dragons. As we transition, our minds are continuing to mature. We don't see that because physically you don't notice it, but it we transfer over to gifts and giving part of our life, where you're more interested in giving and connecting than what you're getting. And that it happens over time. And it's almost imperceptible, but what used to fill your cup kind of repels you. You're like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to sit around and drink on
So
a
it's true.
weekend.
It's so true. So true. We go through these changes and we really start to reevaluate what's more important to us.
Mhm. And along with it, and this will be included in the book, is that everything is tied to our physiology. Connection to purpose, in fact, improves our immune response, our cognitive response. It will give us biological markers that will improve the way we age. So it is critical if you want to age with, an ideal self in mind, that you're tapping into the power of your purpose almost as medicine. We have our gut, which is our inner pharmacy, but our purpose is part of that. In fact, it will determine how we respond to life's challenges if you're living within your purpose. So, the book will have a lot of that scientific knowledge baked into behaviors that hopefully inspire people to know that they have plenty of time to do the things they want to do in life.
I can't wait for your book to come out. And I feel like once you know and you understand how your body works and how everything's connected, to have that healthy gut, to have the healthy mind, then all of a sudden you realize a lot of the chronic pains are going away. You feel a lot better. You have more energy. sometimes people don't take those into account and they just complain about all these random pains. But when you talk to them about their daily routine, you're just like, wait, maybe we need to start there. So let's now go into that because I know you're very healthy and you're an expert with your gut. So how do you prioritize? I guess this is a fully loaded question. So how do you prioritize your self-care and your routine? Daily routine, and then what steps do you take to make sure your gut is healthy? What like healthy snacks, and what's your morning and evening ritual?
Okay, Pearl. Well, I'll give you the full scoop. So I am highly ritualed. I set up little wins for me so that if I do the things that I promised myself I would do, I would get a little treat. So I'm like a little kid in that way. And I like streaks. So for like one of the things I've been working on is my French, and I have a streak of on Duolingo, and I really don't want to lose my streak. So every day I work on that, and that, gives me some cognitive exercises and helps me. And then I'm excited that I'm learning a little bit. My French is marginally better, but it's a streak. So how I bring those things into my life that will make my future self happier is that I first of all fortify my gut. Importantly, I spend a lot of time doing breath work and yoga. But one of the things that I think that is often missed, and maybe it's because people haven't, cultivated a taste for it, but is to eat fermented foods. I know probiotics are always out there, and the controversy is, does it actually get into the gut or is it destroyed prior to that? We know one thing that works really, really well is fermented foods. And, you know, developing a taste for fermented foods is a skill. So I would say, I love
Do you
sauerkraut.
have it like, because when you say that, I always think like, when would you have it, like with your food or as a snack? Because that would be kind of hard to have, like, you know what I mean?
Sauerkraut in the
Like as a
morning.
snack, yeah, like in the morning, it'd be like, oh, that's a little bit of an acquired taste.
Well, simple things like, kombucha, right? Instead of having maybe an iced tea, have kombucha, or if you're like, ooh, I don't love the taste of it, pour it in your iced tea and mix it around. So kombucha is an easy one. I
That's
love
the one I do, yeah.
kefir. I absolutely love kefir. I actually have to stop myself from drinking too much because if I drink too much, my stomach tells me. So kefir is a great way, all the yogurts and all those, sort of active foods. As far as like, we're so lucky in this town, we have a lot of healthy food around us. Fermentation farm is great. So you can get some stuff over there. So I like to have when I'm feeling snacky, Pearl, I'll just run over to the fridge and have a few bites of sauerkraut, or kimchi, or I'll put kimchi on tacos, or you just have it as a little side thing. You don't have to overdo it. But so I would say one of the unsung heroes in our gut armamentarium is fermented food.
Okay.
I think is one thing. And the other is breath work. Your central nervous system's love language is breath work. And so in the morning during my time for meditation as well as yoga, I really work on deep breathing and bringing my heart and my breathing into coherence so that I'll do box breathing, which is like 4 counts in, 4 counts of holding, and 4 counts out, and do that to regulate myself. And if I find that I'm getting stressed or I'm tired, there's lots of different breathing exercises that can either calm you down or perk you up. So I do that type of stuff. And every day I get up and do yoga. I love getting on the mat and just being there, even if it's for 10 minutes. It's all I need. So those are my little rituals. And I do all that in the morning before I have my coffee. And I
So
don't get my coffee
what
until
time do you
I've
get
done
up
those
in the
things.
morning, Gretchen? What time?
I between 5 and 5:30, and the first thing I do is I pop in my earbuds and I meditate. And I was taught to meditate as a child by my hippie parents. And
Wow.
then yes, it was, begrudgingly. It's not like I loved it back then. I was like, how do you do this and sit here? I mean,
Yeah, that's hard for
uh,
kids, yeah.
when you just want to jump up and run around, it's not easy. But I was able to come back to that in my later life. And as I mentioned to you, I I am a parent. You mentioned it. I had my one and only child at the age of 46. So I really am living the life that I recommend for people, which is don't be afraid and it's not too late. And I now have a 10-year-old boy. So did I say I was 56 when I had him? I mean 46. Do I have brain fog? I probably do.
We all do. I know I do all the time.
One little tip about brain fog, because I was just doing some more research on it, and the lack of face-to-face or social interactions
It's the worst.
is actually causing us to have some brain fog. We think maybe it's we're always leaving, oh, it's to sleep or it's age, but it's actually interactions that are
It's our phone, right?
our
Because we're
phone,
just texting and not actually physically meeting people
or
and
even hearing their voice.
hearing
Yeah.
their voice. It's
So.
iPhone. You know, the other thing we have in common when you were saying is streaks. I actually have a streak app, which I love. I've had it. I will send it to you. I've had
Yes.
it for years and literally like because I like to keep track and I feel good about it. Just things like, okay, that I make sure that I meditate because some mornings are crazy, or I try to read every night. Like simple things like, am I going to bed on time? That's something I have problems with, so I'm trying to work on. But I love it because every single night before I go to bed, I check just simple stuff like making sure even like I have my vitamins because there's so many nights that you skip and you don't realize it. You look back, you're like, oh my goodness, like the last time I had all my vitamins, was like 5 days ago. So because we're so busy. So I do the same thing. Streaks are the key because it keeps you motivated and you look at it and you're like, oh, I'm doing so good. I'm going to keep it up.
Yes, and I don't know if you've read Atomic Habits.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love that book. And I actually now, this is the craziest thing. I read it and then I was listening to an audible with my son who is 13. He liked it so much on our like drives to his after school activities that he asked me to buy the book for him. So now he's reading the book at age 13 and he told me about the app. He's downloaded the app. He's making habits of like simply like making his bed or whatever. And now I was like, this is incredible. Like he's starting so much earlier and it's going to help him so much in the long run. So,
Oh,
yes,
I love that. Well, I'm going to try with my son in the car. I'm going to just put that back on, and maybe I can get him to have some Atomic Habits too. He's on a sugar challenge, so he's not having sugar for a whole month. And I'm really, really proud. And
that's
he's
great.
10, so that's a big deal.
That is huge.
But I would love your streak app. So that's how, just having fun in life too, being excited about the future of health and of women are really, really bright. I mean, women in their second prime are the most knowledgeable, powerful, unused resource in the world right now, untapped. So it really means for every woman listening to this, you have an inconvenient dream. You stand for something special and unique that only you can bring to the world. And it's your job during the second prime to contemplate, spend time with yourself, and really discover what that dream is in action. Because a lot of people get mixed up about, well, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know how to express it to the world. It's through behaviors, right? It doesn't have to be a big grand thing. It can be every day you show up for people. You're kind. You look them in the eye. It's these things. And we as humans are so in need of connection. And that is actually the one thing about survival, and not only survival, but quality of life, that connection is the most powerful thing. So what you're doing in this work, Pearl, is so meaningful, and you do a beautiful job of it. So thank you for.
Thank you, Gretchen. And right back at you. The same thing with you. And I just, when you're talking about connection, it's really interesting because the other day, like I'm really trying to be very mindful lately because in the craziness of life, we kind of zoom through and just something like going to a restaurant, going to the grocery store, I really try to acknowledge the clerk at the store or my waiter. And I had this deep conversation with my son again yesterday, and I was like, it's incredible when you just try and you make the attempt to have a connection and show compassion and ask that person, how was your day? Or thank them or give them a compliment. That energy is so powerful because I've been really trying to be aware of this for like the new year and just doing this all the time wherever I am. Even, I'm having a really horrible day, I'm really busy, but no, if I'm there, I'm going to acknowledge that person who's working for me, helping me out. And that is so the connection of human to human, I have to say, for the listeners out there, is one of the most powerful things because I've experienced it like just by making a shift of really acknowledging people, whoever they may be, just like the mailman dropping off your mail. Wave, smile, thank you, something like that. It really makes a big difference. And that energy just gets transferred to you. And then all of a sudden, I was tired when I was grocery shopping. Now that I had this great conversation with this clerk, I'm going to my car. I feel a lot better. I feel good. My bucket is full. His bucket is full. So I really encourage people to just try to do that on a daily basis because I know we're so busy with our phone and just texting and not really making human connection, but really look people in the eye. You're walking your dog, you see somebody, make that eye contact, smile, and just say, have a nice evening. It will make a difference in your life.
And the science behind that is we have mirror neurons, and these mirror neurons connect with each other. And that's how, moods are contagious. So when you take the time to give that little mirror neuron wink, I see you, I appreciate you. That we've then, again, even down to the smallest thing, we've given ourselves a little vibration that makes them healthier. They do their job better. The reason you felt great while you were in your car is that you got a little bit of a dopamine rush from being connected.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes, a little
Yes.
oxytocin, a little dopamine, that kept you going. It was better than caffeine. And as you said, it transferred. And then his ability to give that to the next shopper, your ability to, be mindful while you're driving. I mean, it is a ripple effect of how we show up in the world. And we are in a moment in history where it is needed more than ever. And women who are in their second prime have the ability to be models of what good looks like and to be inspiration for youngsters to say, oh, aging doesn't suck. We were just thinking and doing it wrong. Now we have, what if we knew, and I'll leave your listeners with this, what if at the age of 18, you knew that at 60 or 65, you were going back to school? What would that do to the way you thought about your life? That you were going to have a pivot, that you were going to contribute in a different way. So it's not the answers that we seek, Pearl. It's really asking important questions. And so I would ask before I leave is, what is the contribution to the world that you want to see? And how can I help you do that?
That is really powerful. And actually, to add on to that last question, because I want to be respectful of your time, I know you have a busy day. If you could go back in time, now that you know with everything that you know, all the knowledge, all the wisdom throughout your experiences, what advice would you give to your younger self so that I guess you could embrace aging in a very graceful way and really be mindful of your life?
You know what I would do to myself? Well, I don't know that I would listen. But if I were to, if I
Maybe
was,
write a letter to yourself and seal it and then mail it
please
to yourself.
listen. Don't be arrogant, but listen. What I would say is be brave. It's okay if people don't like you. It's okay if not everybody is, it's very scary to put yourself out there. It's scary to go on social media. It's scary to do all of those things. What I would have said to myself is be brave. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just go do it. I had a lot of good ideas along the way, and I didn't pursue them because of fear. So fear was my long-standing companion, Pearl. And I didn't become brave until just recently. So, I mean, brave in certain areas, but brave in this one came to me late in life. But maybe that's because it's now the thing I'm supposed to do. So I would say, with compassion to my younger self, be braver.
That is really good advice. I think we all need to work on having less fear and being more brave, especially as we age? Well, I could talk to you forever, but to sum up, studies show that women today strive to meet societal beauty standards because they recognize the correlation between appearance and social standing. As Dr. Vivian Deller explained in her book, Face It, What Women Really Feel as Their Looks Change and What to Do About It, most women, she said, agree, reporting that good looks continue to be associated with respect and power in their relationships. In the business world, hiring, evaluations, promotions are often influenced by physical appearance, forcing many women to actually prioritize their beauty over their skills and accomplishments, which is not right. However, society must recognize that true beauty cannot be bought with skincare or designer clothes or surgery. Real beauty is found in how we treat others, but most importantly, in how we love ourselves and the kindness we bring to the world. This is the message we need to pass on to the future generations. Aging is not something to fear. We need to let go of this fear. It's actually a privilege. If you think about it, not everyone gets the gift of growing older and living on. Some people die early, or they get sick, or they don't get a chance for that opportunity. We shape our reality through the stories we tell ourselves, and those stories can empower us instead of limiting us. No matter our age, our bodies are the vessels of our spirit. Caring for them through exercise, maintaining a healthy gut, and a peaceful mind should be an act of love for ourselves, not fear. Happiness is not found in youth, it is a state of being. Embracing ourselves at every stage of life is a key to aging with joy. Love your wrinkles, celebrate your evolving self because self-love has no expiration date. Let's rewrite the narrative around aging. Let's embrace this next chapter, the second prime of our lives, and make it the most powerful one ever. Thank you so much, Gretchen, for being on Female Fluence. All the links will be in my show notes. Is there anything else you would like to add today?
Oh, you just are such a beautiful host. I love what you're doing. And thank you so much for highlighting your second prime and being an example of what a second primer looks like and acts like and shows up in the world. Thank you. I'm just incredibly grateful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for tuning in today to Female Fluence. Together we can influence and motivate other mind-like females. Your job is to feel alive, be in control, and always be true to your own self. Please don't forget to subscribe so you can continue feeling inspired. All the links and notes from this episode will be posted on my website, femalefluence.com. Don't forget to also follow me at Female Fluence on both Instagram and Facebook. Lastly, if you are in need of a woman empowerment life coach to help you identify the barriers that keep you from living the life you seek, please send an email to info@femalefluence.org. Remember, my friends, don't just exist, but live your life to the fullest. I'm your host, Pearl Mashur. Until we talk next time.